Hi, and welcome to Partners in Progress, a couples podcast about love, life, and well-being in your 20s with me, Eloise.
And me, Sammy.
In this podcast, we'll be discussing topics like relationships, health, well-being, spirituality, and just life. From tips and tricks to failures and falls, all while sharing our story as we try to figure out building and growing a life together in the chaos of modern-day society. We'll be coming to you every Sunday with our shares and invite some guests to share their experiences too. So grab a blanket, a cuppa, and settle in to Partners in Progress. Hello and welcome back to the podcast. So we have a rather fun topic of conversation today, all about love languages, which is very fitting now that we are in February. And the likes of Valentine's Day are in the middle, and my card of the month from our Wheel of the Year spread was love, is love as well.
All pointing towards love and romance and everything around that, really.
Yeah, and I think it's just been on my mind a bit as well. It was also in my I have a Moonology diary, which is amazing. It's by Yasmin Boland, and she has them for like every year, and they're really good. But she's just talking about and it's not really something I'm really very knowledgeable about, is like the astrological impacts of like the planetary alignments and things like that. We don't really tend to look at that too much, but we look at the moon practices, don't we? We're there for full moon, new
got
moon.
our journaling every few weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, every 2 weeks, because it's when it's full moon and I was going to say full moon and no moon. Full moon and new moon. It is.
Yeah, we missed the last one as well, so
Doing well.
No.
New Year's resolutions. It's starting strong. We did 2, so done 2, missed 1. If we keep that up, we'll do most of them.
I'm determined for us to do our full moon when it comes around, because I think that's the next one.
Yeah, it will be. I guess that'll probably be about a week or so.
Yeah.
Probably not when this come out, but
no, I'm not sure.
Anyway.
But yeah, there's a lot of love in the air, isn't there? And I think I've just been thinking about it in general anyway, though neither of us really celebrate Valentine's Day.
Well, you say that. We do celebrate Valentine's Day by making the most of the deals that a lot of delivery apps put on, and a lot of restaurants do, where they'll give you like a nice bundle with a nice fancy dessert for much cheaper than they usually would. So I think every year that we've been together, we've always got something on that regard. So that's our tradition on Valentine's Day.
Yeah, we just look for the takeaways, really. I mean, to be fair, I was doing that before you. Even when I was single, I'd just look on the Uber Eats and look for the free dessert options, because it's always a free dessert as well.
Yeah, that's true. Got to get your advantages of it.
Well, yeah, but I bet they like raise the prices of other things to make it kind of.
Oh, they absolutely do. But it makes you feel like you get a deal. And what's more romantic than that? So.
We love deals and discounts. And
even when they're not really deals or discounts.
The human mind just loves that, doesn't we? Like being able to get free stuff. I think we just love.
Yeah.
But in terms of Valentine's Day, we don't really do anything Valentine's Day related at all, do we?
No, I always feel like it's because it's kind of around so many other big things, like our anniversary is in March, and then we have our birthdays in December and January. So it's just it's very much in the middle of a very busy period, I think.
And I swear the roots of Valentine's Day are actually quite messed up, aren't they?
Yeah, I can't remember too much about it off the top of my head, so I don't want to just start saying things and be completely wrong. But I do have a vague memory of that.
I tend to go into like the consumerism like mindset of like, well, the anti-consumerism. I'm like, why is there all this tat and stuff? You know, like you go in a shop and there's just all these like plasticky gifts and things. And I'm just like, oh.
Yeah, I feel like you start seeing that from like mid-January. It's just when it all starts kicking off with that in every shop you go into, or like any big supermarket and things. I've just got whole aisles of all that stuff.
They're everywhere, even in the little shops, to be fair.
Saying that, we do have a look at it, and sometimes it's like, oh, that's quite cute. But
yeah, well, we did the other day, didn't we?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
Morrison's. I mean, it's because it was some like games, wasn't it, rather than like all the normal stuff, which I thought was quite good. But yeah, it's very, I don't know, it's funny because we're very like anti-Valentine's Day, but then well, not really anti-Valentine's Day, but we don't celebrate it. But then like we do have to like kind of check ourselves a bit around Christmas and Halloween, don't we? Because we can get a bit and even just if I'm any time I'm down the seasonal aisle, I just get very distracted and have to check myself.
Yeah, we'll sometimes be walking down an aisle like that and then just turn around thinking I'm speaking to you, and then you're just 4 meters behind me just looking at something and be like, look at this, and I'm like, that's very nice.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to be really intentional about it,
No,
like
you're
getting seasonal things rather than like Christmassy things or Halloween things. It's like it's more about the season, which I argue is fair enough, to be honest, for our house.
Yeah, well, we're trying to move our house and our garden to like be decorated seasonally. I think that's one of the things we want to do this year. So I think that stuff is, yeah, I definitely agree, makes a lot more sense. But yeah, with the Christmas stuff, sometimes it's like, oh, this is really nice, and then we're like, wait, we'll only have it up for a few weeks. So it's better to get something that's wintry or whatever season.
Yeah, I do think the benefit behind like Valentine's Day is it gives people a reason to kind of check in like romantically with your partner, if you're with a partner, or just like the people you love in your life, even if that's yourself. Just thinking like it gives an excuse to celebrate something, which I think is a nice thing. It just making me think because last week was obviously Imbolc, and so we went out for our candlelit dinner. And I think that's probably what's got me thinking about like love recently as well, is because we haven't really done that in a while, like a proper like sit down at a restaurant for a romantic dinner.
No, it's one of those, when we were there, part of the thing that I had when we fully just sort of sat down and we were both dressed up nice and both looking very fancy. I was just like, I was trying to remember the last time that we've properly done that, just the two of us, and I was like, it's been quite a while. Because I think we do versions of dates and things like that, but ever since our relationship began, they've always kind of had to be in a different kind of way, because obviously we couldn't go out to a restaurant straight after we met due to that being around when COVID started. So I think it's one of those that maybe hasn't continued as much after that point is freed up. So
Yeah, well, it's kind of weird because, like you said, when we met, we were distanced, and then we like lived in the same room, so we didn't really have that kind of dating, get to know each other experience at all. Like we just went from 0 to 100, really.
yeah, exactly. And I think it's especially for a lot of those usual, well, quote unquote, usual starts to relationships, is like you spend most of your time together, like on the dates or when you're together to begin with. You don't just usually jump straight to like living with each other when you've got the physical side of the relationship. So it's, yeah, very different path, I think.
I do think we did have like a version of a honeymoon stage though, kind of when,
Oh
like
yeah.
if you think back to like our first year, it's obviously quite sporadic in places with the different kind of things, but I think especially as we've been together like a good few years now, it makes me kind of like nostalgic and like, oh, how young we were. But just remembering those little cute ways we had dating, like the nervous getting to know each other and like thinking about what we were going to say to each other. And then I think almost like we had this extra level of excitement and appreciation for one another when we were in person, because we'd started off long distance.
Yeah, exactly. Like I don't think, with saying that about the dates being kind of different, that there wasn't that sort of honeymoon phase. And I think I really felt at the most, like you said, when we were in person. But even when we were talking on the phone a lot, it's like a lot of my days would be waiting to kind of speak to you at the end of it. And then when we have the call, that would always be the highlight of it. I always come off feeling very just happy and emotionally full, is the best way I can put it. Like when you just feel like very happy.
Yeah. Do you think like the in person, do you agree with feeling like there was a bit of like extra magic when we were in person, because it was almost like honeymoon stage like maxed because we were so grateful to be together?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I think that's that thing of where you get the butterflies in your stomach, but it's like before that it's turned up to like 100, like leading up to that. And then it just kind of stays, but in like a really good way, the whole time that we were together for those first few, well, for the first times that we were together in person. Not that I don't feel that ever anymore, but it's
Well,
like a different level of it, I think,
well, that's actually what I was gonna say, is I feel like because of that weird beginning where we were apart, I feel like I don't really feel like there was like a point where the honeymoon stage ended. I think for us, we still have moments like that. I think when we're so grateful to spend time together, aren't we? And we get so excited about like just, you know, sitting down and gaming together.
Yeah.
Like we get so excited for time together, even though we've been together for so long. But I just feel like that kind of new young love energy is still kind of very much with us.
Yeah, I think like you say, it's not constant because I think it can't be for 5 years. It's just not how it works. But I think I definitely feel like we still have those moments quite regularly of just if there's something that we're both looking forward to, or that like if we've got separate things we're looking forward to but can do like together. It's like when we get that time, we just kind of look at each other and have a little smile and get very excited about being able to do it. So yeah, I definitely feel like we still have those moments, and I always kind of appreciate them, and I never feel like that's gonna kind of die out for us, you know.
Hopefully not.
100% of that.
But yeah, I do think that we're very precious over our time together, aren't you? Like I feel like both of us kind of prioritize this. So at the moment, we're very fortunate in that we have an hour together in the morning before work, and then we have an hour at lunchtime, and then we pretty much have every evening together from 5 p.m.
And it's not enough.
And yeah,
I
I know
need more,
that's
yeah.
what I mean. Like, I feel like we always want more time together. If we ever want to spend time together, like if we ever want to spend time doing something, we want to spend it together, don't we?
Yeah, I think there's things that if they have to be done separately, we'll try and time it for when one person would be away anyway. So I know it's like sometimes I'll do stuff when you're at work that's like it would make sense for only one of us to do, and I'll do it then because it's specifically like, oh, there's just me, so it's a good use of the time. And I know it's kind of the same vice versa in a sense of when you do that while I'm at work or something like that.
Yeah, trying to kind of do the mundane domestic stuff when the other's out, and
Or
to
busy or
kind of
whatever, yeah.
to make sure that when we do come together, we don't have to kind of think about too much of the other stuff. And I think that's a very fortunate thing about our very kind of different working schedules in um because like most of my work typically takes place in the afternoon and like evenings, so there'll be some days when I'm finishing work at like 6 and you obviously had like an hour before then because you're on a classic 9 to 5.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, with that, in fairness, there is more time where you'll be doing things because I'm like working than the other way around. Not that that's like a good or a bad thing. It's just the way it is because of our different schedules. But yeah, it's kind of it's nice to have that time to just be like, oh, I can crack on with doing this and this and this, and then you get to enjoy the time together. I always feel like it's like a reward, you know, for like, oh, okay, I've cleaned all of this stuff or done whatever, and then now it's time to just have fun together, whatever that is. I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
What is your favorite date that we have ever been on? I was going to say your favorite date you've ever been on, but that could also not be with me. So I'm going to I'm going to tighten down the question and include it just with me.
I don't think I've really been on that many dates in my life. Like I was just trying to think like of people that are not you.
I thought you meant just with me and us out.
Well, yeah,
I mean that's also true, but
questionable.
yeah,
I think I don't know. It's tricky, isn't it? Because like because of the weird start to the relationship, I do think that kind of dates were weird in the way that we had all those kind of little virtual ones, and then we lived together and we couldn't go out, and then we just kind of you just kind of get used to things, don't you? You kind of struggle to break routines. I know that a couple of years ago we did a little that little jar, didn't we, of like date ideas, and
yeah,
we're trying to rotate weeks of like 1 week we would have a indoor date, and then the next week we would have an outdoor one, or like out the house kind of one.
yeah,
Which I think I like was inspired by like kind of relationship couples like talking on social media, and I quite liked. Yeah, I think we do definitely need to like go back on that. I think we need to create more dates. But as for favorite date that we've had, so tricky. I'm trying to think back to the one now. I mean, you're talking like 5 years worth of dates.
I know, you don't have them all on lock, just on the top of your head. Unbelievable. No. I feel like, I don't really know if it counts because it's while we were on a holiday, and I don't know if it necessarily counts as a date, but I kind of felt like it did. Is when we were in Scotland, and we were staying at a hotel for my cousin's wedding, and we were right next to the Beatrix Potter garden and museum area. It was literally like a minute away from, I was going to say Airbnb, it was a hotel that we were staying at. And we went down there on one of the mornings we were there and just had a really lovely time wandering around these gardens that had all the little statues of all the different characters. And then pretty much right as we were done with that, the museum opened up. So we had a little look around there, and they just had lots of little history and lots of really cute stuff around there. And then got some little bits in the gift shop, and I just thought that was a really nice time. I feel like, again, being on holiday makes it feel a bit different. So I don't know if I'm cheating by saying that, but it felt like a date within a holiday. And
it counts.
yeah, I just really I felt that was a really nice moment.
It's interesting that, I mean, I did enjoy it because I grew up on Peter Rabbit and Winnie the Pooh and all that kind of vibe. So it was really cool to like be in the place where a lot of that history came in, and it was a little bit kind of like we went to the gardens, but it's a bit spare of the moment for us to go into the actual like museum, wasn't it?
Yeah, because it was like, oh, we'll just have a look around the gardens, and then last minute we were like, oh, we might as well check, and it's like, oh, actually, it's all open, and we can go in and have a look around. So I think we went in literally like the minute it opened, pretty much, because we were like a little early. We were like, oh, we'll wait 5 minutes. Yeah, so, but yeah, I don't know, I just really like that, and I think of that quite often.
Gosh, that's quite sweet.
I have my moments.
I know, but it was just surprised because it was just, I mean, it was obviously like special, but it's such a kind of little random one.
I think that's why I remember it more in a sense. I think I just always like the stuff like that. That's like the stuff where you're like, oh, okay, yeah, we'll just do it, and then it just ends up being really nice.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the date we had recently for your birthday, where we did mini golf, which I did a lot of growing up on like holidays and stuff. So I'm always like, no, I don't want to go mini golf. I always go mini golf. But it'd been a sufficient amount of time now. And it was quite nice to do that together. And then like, it was nice to see you like spending money on yourself as well when we went shopping. You kind of dragging me around rather than the other way around, which was really nice.
A slight change of pace, no.
Yeah, but it was just something a bit different, wasn't it, for us? But also like something very like classic date.
Yeah, because I feel like that's the stuff that we haven't done, is just like
No.
the classic ones a lot of the time. Like we kind of do parts of them, like we go and see like movies in the cinema and things, but again, not as much as you used to, because I know you used to go all the time to the cinema.
Oh yeah, me and my mum used to go every week. Oh, I had the best time. Like that was just me and my mum's thing, was going to the cinema. We watched everything. It was so good. I mean, we didn't really watch much of the horrors. I do remember the few like horror-ish movies or like thrillers that we watched. It was always hilarious because my mum would just be laughing.
Take the tension out at least.
And I'd be terrified. And then she would laugh at how like the predictability of it. And she would also laugh at me jumping and being scared. And there's been times I've caught her as well. I've just gone like downstairs and she's watching like one of those ghost hunter shows.
Oh, yeah.
Because all I've heard is loads of laughing coming from the room, and I've been like, Mum, what are you watching? And she's just like, oh, I'm watching all the ghosts. Just wanted a bit of a laugh. And I'm like, Mother, why are you so weird?
Just want some light comedy. I'll put on Hereditary. No.
I know. Well, she doesn't like gross stuff. It's just silly.
I was going to say,
jump
what
scares.
do you remember? What types of films, or like what specific films you went to watch in those veins, or are they all just
I
kind of
remember
like
Woman in Black.
Yeah,
It was all that kind of vibe, like ones like Woman in Black. They weren't really like horror movies. They were more like jump scare, thrillery.
Yeah, because I feel like that was quite common, like late mid-10s, like 2010s. Like there was a lot of stuff like that coming out, so that makes sense.
But yeah, she found it so funny. But I still love going to the cinema because like I always want to go back again, like as soon as I've gone into a cinema, I'm like, I'm already waiting for the next time to come. I'm always there watching the trailers, and I'm like nudging you, going, let's go see that one, let's see that one, let's see that one. And we don't.
Yeah, that's one thing that I want to start doing more as well, is like going to the cinema.
Yeah, we're ticking off a lot of classics, like classic dates right now, aren't we?
I know, only 5 years in.
There was another date that's come to mind that I really enjoyed, and it was, we've done it a few times, but it was kind of, I want to say we were in Reading when we had the first. I'm talking about the concert dates. Was the first one in Reading?
Yes, yeah, yeah. I was gonna say, I was like, I'm not
Yeah,
sure,
because
but
gigs and concerts have always been like a big part of your life, haven't they? Like you love going to
mm,
them. And I've been to like a few like artists and stuff, and I've been to a couple festivals as well. But I had the idea to create a concert at home, and we'd literally, which I didn't realize you could find them on YouTube, but you can literally find like um recordings of concerts, like special concerts from various artists. So I remember us having these kind of dates where we'd both take it in turns choosing a concert to listen to. We'd have like projector lights on, and we'd have a few drinks, so we'd get dressed in our like concert clothes. Um,
have a
and
little boogie.
yeah,
Yeah,
and I remember that was like so fun, and special, and it was a way of kind of, because just I think we explained before about like our playlist and how like music is a big part of our lives, and it's just a really nice way to kind of. It's not the same, is it? It's nowhere near the same, but
no, it's not like equivalent to going to a concert, but it's a nice. It's also a very budget friendly way of going,
yeah,
having
for
that
sure.
experience.
We've got plenty of budget friendly at home dates, haven't
I
we?
know that's what we were an expert in for quite a while. I feel like especially in when we were in the room together in Nottingham and then living in Reading, given that both of them were quite boxed into where we were, it
Yeah.
wasn't really easy to get. I mean, in Nottingham, COVID was still very much a big thing, so it wasn't really
Mm-hmm.
safe to go out. And then in Reading, it just wasn't easy because of where we were and without a car, and public transport was kind of non-existent in Reading,
Yeah.
well, around where we were at least. But I was thinking of like what we're saying on our dates, and I'm like, I wonder if our favorite ones reflect our love languages as well. Like,
Yeah, I mean, I think they definitely do. So I think, just in case, I feel like everyone's kind of heard of love languages, but maybe there's some people that haven't. So I guess we'll just explain the love languages really quickly. Which are basically, there's 5 different categories of expressing and receiving love. That were, I think it was actually created by like a pastor who did like counseling, and like just kind of did it
oh,
based on like the like common threads and behaviors they would see in couples, really. So
mm,
it's certainly not a piece of like rigorous empirical scientific study, but I think it does a really good job of kind of, in a very simplistic way, categorizing different ways of kind of expressing and receiving love, um, which are quite interesting. So the 5 categories are.
see if you get them all off the top of your head now.
Oh, you're not helping me.
I've got the list. No, I want to see.
I was going to back and forth
Oh, you're
it.
going to back and forth it. We can back and forth it.
Yeah.
You start.
Words of affirmation,
Quality time,
physical touch,
receiving gifts.
acts of service.
That's 5.
Oh, I can't count.
So I'm holding up 4 fingers there on the last one,
Yeah.
and I was like, there's
Yeah.
no more to go.
Yeah, so there's 5 categories. Again, there's probably countless ways you can express love, but it's a kind of like simple structure, I suppose. And you get kind of asked the classic kind of like online quiz stuff where you get asked a comparison thing, like I think the sentence is like, it's most meaningful to me when, and then
Yeah.
it's like 2 options, isn't it? And you kind of choose which one
Just
you
go
prefer.
through. Yeah, I feel like some of them with these things, it's quite obvious to tell which answer goes with which category, because some of them are like, it's most meaningful to me when my partner gets me a small gift, and it's like, I wonder if that falls under receiving gifts fairly chance. But some of them are a bit harder to tell, and it's just like you kind of got to not think about like what category they're going into as you answer, and just kind of try and be as honest as you can, I think.
I thought they were all easy to tell which category they belong to.
All right, well, someone has more reading comprehension than the other.
Well, yeah, but I did a load of like, am I bi quizzes and what kind of bi am I quizzes.
That's true. I kind of missed the boat on that one.
Very familiar with like, yeah, and in the same way, like with the love languages one, like clicking through when I was doing like the like, am I bisexual? Kinsey scale one.
I was gonna say, I feel like that might be easy to tell on some of them.
Yeah, like every answer I was just like, I'm just proving my point more and more. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. You know, when you kind of already know, but you have to
You're
click
just like, I just
through
want
it
to make
anyway.
sure. Yeah.
But anyway, you do it. So yeah, so at the end of it, you after these questions, you get given like a pie chart almost of your like most to least ways of expressing, or like, I don't know if it's expressing love, it's more like what you like your partner to do most. So how
Yeah, they
you
just
how you
word it
best
as-
like to receive love is probably more accurate.
Yeah, I think that's a good way of wording it. So it's like their primary love language is whatever. But I think again, it's like what I kind of had to get my head around as well, is it's not like you only like one type of love language and the rest don't matter at all. Because I definitely don't think, I'm sure there are some people where that might be the case, but for most people, I imagine that's not true. So if you're like, oh, my primary one is this, it doesn't mean, oh, but if they get me gifts or whatever, then I'm going to hate it. It's like, it's just different levels of meaningfulness.
Meaningfulness. Is that a word?
It is now.
Yeah, it must be.
Yeah. Anyway. Discussion for another time.
Yeah.
But I guess we can go down the list of them for each other, and then, because obviously we're filling that quiz and we've got the list of like what our primary one is all the way down to what our, I was going to say tertiary, whatever the fifth one down is. So that's what we can kind of work through and find out.
Yeah. So I mean, so I think I had kind of like a top one, but I think honestly, like there was two that were equal. I think I think there's like two main love languages that I think I kind of resonate with, which are physical touch and quality time.
That definitely doesn't feel surprising to me.
It's not surprising at all. Like, I mean, and it's not just how I am like in like a romantic relationship, but it's how I am with like every relationship. And it's so funny because I always seem to end up, except for you, but I've always seemed to attract people that are like not built that way.
Don't like the physical touch as much for like showing affection and things like that.
Yeah, so like my best friend Kirsty, bless her, she was not really like one for hugs, but she's so huggy with me now, because she's literally had to, and that's like the way. And it's the same for like my friend Kat as well. Like you just kind of have to learn that I'm going to be affectionate.
You've worn them down.
Yeah, it's consensual. Let's just clarify.
Yeah.
There's no like, if it generally made them uncomfortable, I would obviously not. And I do, you know, I hold myself back from always like cuddling up and
just
stuff.
clinging onto them while you're walking around.
Yeah, because I know that that's not pleasant for anyone. But yeah, it's definitely been like a lot of my friends have to we have to find our middle ground really of physical touch and just how we connect that way.
Yeah.
But with you, I think I've just always we're both pretty like, I mean, interestingly, I don't think it rated highly on yours, did it, physical touch?
No, it didn't. I think it's one of those where it's like I definitely enjoy that aspect, and like it does definitely feel meaningful to me. But I think it's like a lot of mine, because I'm looking at my chart now, it's like the middle three are like very similar in size. So even though it's the fourth one down, it's like it's not important, but I think it does feel like it's about right for me, because it's not like I'm really that physically affectionate with anyone but you, I think.
That's
it's
true.
Like a lot of my friends, it's like I don't really feel like I have the need to be, you know.
I'll hug all your friends as well.
Well, exactly, yeah.
And they're all so tall. Well, most of them are so tall.
Yeah.
Other than our boy Jordan, and I appreciate him being on my like height territory. I
Yeah.
think he's the only one.
Yeah.
Everyone
I think
else
it's the
is
only one
like
yeah.
mountains compared. Everyone's so tall. Every time I go up to hug them, I'm like, oh my god. Like Dennis as well.
Yeah.
After like I always forget, and I'll see him. I'm like, Jesus.
They weren't always that tall.
No, I think it was so funny because we had that bit when like we went from not seeing each other to see each other because I forgot how tall you are.
Yeah.
So the people listening that don't know, you are
6'3" ish.
and I'm a nice average 5'5".
So almost a foot between us, 10
Yeah.
inches.
Oh, and so like yeah, sometimes I still do it where I like look up and I'm like, oh gosh.
I
But
think I said
no,
that the other day. I remember like when you just walked up to me and you were like right underneath, and I just looked down and you looked up at me and I just chuckled because it's like we can just do that, you know.
yeah, and I don't really wear heels much, so
No.
I'm always pretty short. But yeah, I think I think the reason why I like physical touch is so present because it was kind of like me and my dad used to like I always used to hug my dad and like cuddle up with him and stuff because we're both very like calm people and we didn't really want to be chatting and you know all that. We just like to just kind of be in each other's presence. So I think it was just a real special kind of way of communicating from when we were young. Sorry if you had a background noise. Our cat has the zoomies and she is
a bit crazy,
making a bit of clatter.
so
but yeah, so I think that's probably why I like physical. And I think it's just I don't know, it's just how I'm built. I think really like
to hug.
yeah, I'm built to squish. No, I think I'm just a very calm presence, and I really appreciate like stillness and relaxing and connecting. So yeah, but then equally quality time. I feel like quality time is kind of like one that everyone would probably rate highly on because doesn't everyone want quality time together?
Make my one the most common one. No, but I do agree. I mean, you'd hope that people would want to spend time with people they love. So I'd be surprised if that didn't rank at least top 3 for pretty much everyone. But yeah, it's a fair point because I am trying to think of a situation where they'd be like, no, I'd rather like you just did acts of service all the time than spend
See
time
me.
with me. Yeah. And I'm like, well, that's not quite like what a relationship would be for the most part, I guess. But it depends what relationships look like for people. But I do agree. I mean, that kind of brings on to my most my primary love language because quality time was what I got, and I feel like that kind of makes sense for me, really, given that a lot of what we talked about earlier was about spending time apart doing tasks or whatever to then be able to spend the time together, just being together for the most part. So
Yeah.
I think quality time was my main one, and then my second and third ones were very similar in terms of like how important they are. I think that was words of affirmation and then acts of service. And acts of service surprised me on that one.
Oh, I was gonna say words of affirmation surprised me.
Oh,
Because I don't know. I just hadn't thought that we're very generous with our I love yous and things like that.
I like that apparently. So.
Yeah, which is sweet, and I do as well. But it was just surprising to me, I suppose. But why was acts of service surprising to you?
I don't know. I thought like physical touch would be above that one at least. But there's like a decent-ish difference. Like they're fairly similar, but like the second and third are very close, whereas third and fourth there's a bit of a difference. So I just thought that they'd be the other way around. Because I always appreciate when like you do things to help me or just to make the house nice and things. But I think it was going through that obviously means more to me than I thought it did.
Well, you don't necessarily have to agree with it all. Like if you feel like you disagree with some of the placements of it, you know, like I don't. For me, as a like psychologist, in terms of like my qualifications, I can see the limitations of a quiz like this. across all the quizzes that you get online and stuff. They're very like watered down versions of things most of the time.
Yeah.
So I think these quizzes are helpful for kind of showing yourself different kind of like ways of how like understanding yourself and maybe thinking about things that you might not have thought about before. But I do think you need to take it with a pinch of salt, and I certainly think that I wouldn't necessarily apply love languages that seriously to our lives. But obviously that's coming from me who I quite obviously appreciate physical touch and quality time together. That's just I appreciate all the other things as well. And I think we both do a good job of appreciating all the different categories when we do it for each other. But it's just a fun, interesting way of trying to capture that, I suppose.
Yeah, no, definitely. Because I think, again, like receiving gifts is my last one, then that's quite a small one. But it's not like if you got me a gift or anything, I'd be like, how dare you? It's like you do very much still appreciate it. I think it's like anything in balance is a good way. I think if we were only spending time together and then not doing anything else, like not saying any nice words to each other or helping each other
Yeah.
out or having any physical touch or anything like that, then it's like, oh, then it doesn't really make sense.
But if you're not saying, I don't know, is it to what extent is quality time described as quality time? Like what contributes to
Mm.
I'm sorry, I'm being the psychologist and I'm just like
Time to
picking
quantify our
holes.
definitions, shall we? No, but no, it is a fair point because it's like, I guess you could say if we just sat like watching the TV and not talking or whatever, that's not quality time. That's just time spent in the same place.
But what if we were watching something like a movie that we feel reflects like part of our relationship? Does that change it? Does that then make it quality time?
I think it's how much you're enjoying it is what makes it quality time. Again, that's not a quantifiable amount, I don't think. So
But
it's a
then
bit
I
loosey
would
goosey.
argue when we're gaming separately, it's time that I enjoy spending together, but I wouldn't necessarily call that quality time. But we're both enjoying ourselves. Your face is
My
like,
eye is
oh, here we
twitching
go.
now. No, yeah. That's
Yeah,
all I'm saying.
no
That one.
further.
No, I agree with your point because I do think it's like, I guess it changes the definition too. It's when you're both involved in something that you're both focusing on the same thing or a similar thing,
It's
I guess.
tricky, isn't
But
it?
yeah, I don't think I can whack out a perfect definition for it right here.
And I think it's not so black and white, but I think it's like a spectrum with different, there's different
Levels.
placements across it. I wouldn't even say levels because again, that's quantifying it in a very like structured way. I would say it's very fluid, moving thing because the same, like I was saying, the same act of like watching TV would have various like levels within it, wouldn't it? So that's why I'm saying it's kind of like a fluid thing. And I think it's a lot of it always comes back to intention, doesn't it? And just a general sense of awareness. Like I remember when we were sitting down for our date for Imbolc and we were asking questions around Imbolc, kind of doing like our journaling, but more like a verbal one.
Yeah.
And that was really quality time for us that I don't think we've really, like I remember sitting there being like, gosh, we have not done this for a while. Like, because a lot of our meals we are quite bad at, we eat when we watch stuff, don't we? We don't really sit down at the
No.
dinner table
What
and
do you
have
mean?
share a meal together, which would be good to do more. But I definitely noticed that when we were sat down at like a restaurant face to face, and I was like, gosh, this is something we don't do often, and it feels different in a kind of way.
Yeah. I mean, the garlic bread helped. No,
Oh, it's good garlic bread.
but no, I do agree, and I did feel the same sort of thing when we were there. It does feel like having that sort of focus and intention of just like fully on each other and being really honest when answering these questions that I think were kind of quite deep and philosophical, but also just kind
Yeah.
of reflective of, I think, kind of the year so far, and I think with a lot that's happened, it's nice to be able to just be honest with each other about how we're feeling and everything that's been going through our heads. Because I think, again, with that day to day, you can just get stuck in your own head or like be
Mm.
aware that like your partner's going through something, but it's like it's not easy to talk about it in between like working and sorting out everything you need to and making all the meals and whatever else you're doing. So
Yeah, I think that's true.
yeah, it was really nice, and I think definitely having more of that. that quality time.
Quality
It means so
time.
much to me.
Yeah.
It does. But
Is there anything else that you kind of want to explore within like talking about love languages today?
I don't want my answer to just be no. But I
No.
like I
But no.
but no, yeah, no. I think we've talked a lot around in broader strokes. I feel like most of what we've spoken about today has kind of been had one thing or another to do with one type of love language. But I guess that's what
Mm,
being romantic and showing love to each other is. It's probably going to involve at least one of those acts.
yeah. I think everyone is so different, aren't they? But I do think each to their own. If something like the kind of five love languages or something that you can connect or helps understand yourself, then I think that's really good. But you know yourself best, and these models can apply or they can be a load of rubbish. It literally is just all about what you think, isn't it?
Oh,
I think
exactly.
for us it's just a fun little thing to do, isn't it? But we don't really put too much kind of what's the word like emphasis on it.
Yeah, don't put too much stake in it, I guess.
Yeah, but if any of our listeners want to share what their love languages, I would be very interested to hear what they are.
If it's
Um,
physical touch, you'll give them a hug. No,
Yeah. No. Disclaimer that
no,
is not
no,
for
no free hugs here, unfortunately.
no hugs
Uh,
need to be given. But yeah, so I'll just summarize the five as well, just to if you have something you want to come back and think about. So it is physical touch, quality time, words of affirmation, acts of service, and the last one.
Receiving gifts.
Yes, there you go. Um, so yeah, other than that, let's take us to I don't really know what words
Let's
I
bring us
said
on
there.
to.
Oh dear. I think that's a sign that we need to come to a close.
Yeah,
But let's first do the well-being segment before we shoot off.
I think we say before
Um,
we pass out. Either's true.
always
No.
a high possibility with me. What has been your kind of highlight, joy or boost of well-being this last week?
I think we've kind of already spoken a bit about it today, but I think our Imbolc
Mm.
date in our nice restaurant really has been the highlight of the last week for me. I think it was just such a nice time to fully reconnect and just get a chance to fully speak and be intentional with each other. And that really helped sort of center me for this week and going forward.
Yeah, I agree. I think that was a really lovely kind of way to celebrate in bulk together. But I also had a session. It was on the same day actually. A
Busy
session.
lady.
I know a session in the woods in my play worker hat on, and as always there was loads of chaos happening. But we went to this kind of like dug up almost I don't even know what to call it. It's like a ditch but like a path. It's like a path long ditch. Like they've basically dug a pathway down at the back of the woods and it's all like clay, mud and puddles and it's really like sticky and muddy and my boots are still not recovered and I'm going back in the woods this Saturday. But like the sound of all the kids laughing and the drama of just like keeping an eye on all these kids running about in this ditch, get stuck in the mud, and having water go into their wellies because the puddles were so deep, but they just had to see how deep it was.
Got to make
Um,
sure you know see if it goes over or not. That's the fun game to play.
it was and it did, and I had to empty quite a few wellies.
God.
But no, that was just such a lovely thing. It's been really grateful for the work that I do. Because not many people get to have so much fun on their shift.
No, that's true. But yeah, I remember picking you up from that one, and then halfway
You
through
know,
halfway through your session, you texted me like, "Could you bring a plastic bag?" And I'm like, "Oh, okay, it's been one of those sessions."
I'm surprised you didn't kit out the passenger seat with bin bags.
I was very tempted, but no, I decided against it in the end.
Yeah, but that was such a lovely session, honestly. But yeah, what's something that you're gonna do or I can do for you across this next week for your well-being?
More soups. No,
Got some soup in the fridge already
that's true.
waiting.
Yeah, yeah. Because I got a soup maker recently, but no, I think I said that kind of as a joke, but recently you've been doing more of like making lunches and kind of supporting even more while I've been at work. And I just feel like I've really appreciated that. And especially with the lunches, not having to make them every day while I'm working has been really nice. Not that I
Mm.
don't mind making them if I need to or anything, but I've appreciated that, and I feel like it's helped me come down and relax more, and again more quality time together at
Yep.
lunch. So that's my number one now. Um, so yeah, I think that's for me. What about from me to you?
Well, I suppose that I don't necessarily know, like, they don't all have to be like,
Or what? Yeah,
yeah, like, they don't have to be something that you need to do for me. I think, I'm trying to think really what I've got ahead this week. I think just keeping a bit of a focused sense of self-awareness, especially with the increase of sessions I've had lately, just making sure that I balance everything really well is my kind of focus for the week ahead.
yeah,
Um, yeah. All right. So I
nice.
think that is everything we are bringing you today. We hope you have a lovely week, and we are sending you lots of love and warmth, and we will see you next time.
See you soon.